Paddy Pimblett isn't too sure Jake can handle Anderson Silva. He feels that Jake Paul could very well be in for a rude awakening on October 29th. However, other fighters have chosen not to dismiss the ex-YouTube star entirely. In the meantime, Paul is already eyeing his next opponent, and it's Floyd Mayweather. Here's everything we know. First off, here's what Paddy thinks. Paddy's reason for not thinking Paul could win was that he firmly believes Anderson Silva is one of the greatest strikers in MMA history. Pimblett says Paul will have a lot of trouble making himself last even 3 rounds with Silva. Pimblett thinks that Paul, who is 5-0 as a professional boxer, is going to finally find out what it's like to have an opponent who's an actual striker. He spoke about it on the Chattin' Pony podcast. Paddy had talked about the upcoming fight with ex-UFC light heavyweight champion Tito Ortiz. Ortiz, who was KO'd by Silva last September, thinks that Silva is one of the greatest strikers in MMA history, and he's also said that he doesn't think Jake Paul's going to make it out of 3 rounds. That's just his opinion, but he admits that it's definitely going to be a great fight, and he praised Jake Paul for always giving us a show. Pimblett echoed his thoughts and said the fight would probably be a rude awakening for Paul. Silva may be one of the GOATs after all, but Pimblett doesn't think there's a chance of Paul getting out of 3. Let's take a look at their chances. Silva, 47, is largely thought of as an MMA legend, having kept the UFC middleweight champion title for over 2,457 days between 2006 and 2013, and many think of him as the greatest striker to ever be in the UFC. He was taken off the roster when his contract expired in 2020, but the striker has since gone on to have a successful boxing career and is now looking to fight and defeat the YouTuber-turned-boxer in the ring October 29th. But let's not forget, Silva is 2 decades older than Paul, who has knocked out Ben Askren, Anisan Gibb, and Nate Robinson since his professional debut in 2020. Paul recently appeared in an interview with MMA Junkie in which he estimated his fight with Silva would be the highest-selling one until now. He thinks it could draw up to 700,000 pay-per-view buys. On the other hand, Silva did manage to outpoint ex-middleweight world title holder Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He also knocked out Tito Ortiz once during his own impressive career. Moving on, Paul wants to fight Mayweather. Jake Paul isn't too impressed by the fights that Floyd Mayweather has been in recently, as the now-retired ex-boxing champion continues to engage in exhibition bouts against very overmatched opposition. For now, Paul, however, is more concerned with his own fight against UFC legend Anderson Silva on October 29th, but he's absolutely confident that he can lure Mayweather, 45, into the ring with him sometime in the near future. The only question we have now is, can Paul persuade Mayweather to come back for one more real fight? I think he would fight me if it was an exhibition for sure, Paul told MMA Fighting. The thing is, I want it to be a real pro bout and take his undefeated record, which I don't think he'll risk. But I just think that makes the fight 3 times as big and 3 times as hyped. That's what I'm aiming for. In Mayweather's latest exhibition outing, he ended mixed martial artist Mikiro Asakura in the 2nd round when they fought at the Risen event in Japan this past September. Mayweather's next fight is now going to be against social influencer Deji Alatunji, who is KSI's little brother and a fighter who has knocked out Paul in the 5th round of an amateur bout all the way back to 2018. Here's why Paul has a problem. The outcome of Mayweather's recent bout, mixed with the news that he would be going up against Deji next, made Paul take a social media shot at the 50-0 boxer for constantly ruining his own legacy with these sideshow performances. He said that Mayweather is tarnishing his own legacy by having matches with no-name people, and is also wasting his fans' time and money. He barely knows the names of the guys he's going up against, all so he can make some money. Paul then directly addressed Floyd and said that he wanted a fight, and this would be one of the biggest in boxing. Next up, Paul thinks he'd be a worthy opponent. When Mayweather retired in 2017 after a 10th round TKO victory over X2 division UFC champion Conor McGregor, he swore his professional career was finished. Since then, Mayweather has participated in multiple exhibition bouts that still earn him a large sum of money without putting his flawless record in the ring on the line. One of those fights took place in June 2021 against Paul's older brother, Logan Paul, who kept going for all 8 rounds against Mayweather, not to mention how the match also brought in some huge numbers on Showtime pay-per-view. Equipped with a whole lot more boxing experience than his sibling, Paul firmly believes he would present a better challenge to Mayweather, and he'll even agree to the stipulation for an exhibition instead of a professional bout as long as the fight actually takes place. Paul thinks there's definitely a fight between them meant to happen soon in the future. The technical parts they can always figure out, but he's totally ready. Coming up, Chris Eubank is invited to the Anderson Silva fight. Jake Paul recently offered Chris Eubank Jr. a front-row seat to his bout with Anderson Silva this month. The boxing star has made multiple call-outs towards Paul on the off chance of bagging a big money fight, but they have generally not really been noticed. Paul tweeted and then also quickly deleted an invitation to the fight to Eubank Jr. some days ago in the midst of a scramble to save the fight by promoter Eddie Hearn. Ben has completed and passed his UKAD tests, which are all that the British Boxing Board of Control needs to give the go-ahead on a bout. But the board has publicly stated that the fight can take place in the sport's interest. And Paul tagged Eubank Jr. and tweeted that he saved front-row seats for Chris and asked him to come. Not too long ago, Eubank Jr. was questioned by Sport Bible about whether or not he'd fight Paul, and he also gave his price as being in the tens of millions. Eubank said that even though he doesn't think Paul is on his level, he agreed to pay £20 million to fight Jake Paul. He also revealed that he didn't know how much they usually took for fights. He knows that Jake is currently making a lot of waves in the boxing world, and he's currently undefeated. His name is a big name, and he gets the big numbers. Next up, Daniel Cormier also weighs in. Cormier, who fought Silva in the octagon before, has refused to verbally rearrange the YouTube star. He knows that Paul has earned his place here, but he reminds us of Silva's victory over ex-WBC middleweight champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. as a bigger achievement than anything Paul has managed in the ring. But Cormier did tell ESPN that if he had to give a verdict on the winner, it'd be Anderson Silva. But he wouldn't be too shocked if the fight went to Jake Paul either. He's young, he's in his prime, and he knows how to fight too. He is no longer one of the people who hate on Paul and call him a joke, because he's not. He makes a good point. While Paul has earned his place in the spotlight, Silva is a certified legend and who's been fighting for much longer. Finally, Tyron Woodley thinks Paul has a chance. Many people think that Jake Paul may have bitten off more than he can chew when he stepped into the boxing ring against Anderson Silva. But the fans who are betting the house on Silva may want to rethink the scouting report from ex-UFC champion Tyron Woodley, who is 0-2 against the problem child, and was thrown face-first into the canvas when they had their December 2021 rematch. He said that he knows plenty of people who want to see Jake Paul get defeated and have a better fighter teach him a lesson like a bully on a playground. Woodley said in The Fighter vs. the Writer that at the end of the day, Paul is really just a kid with no financial limitations or any kind of responsibility. Plus, he's got a lot of energy. Let's not forget that Paul loves betting too. He's determined to win and is training day and night. He's also figured out his strengths in the ring. These things make him a formidable foe. So if you're thinking of betting and counting on Silva to win, you might want to rethink counting Paul out already. Silva may be a legend in his own right, but we all know that when Paul sets his sights on something, he can't be stopped. Well, that's a wrap for this video. Do you think Paul is going to prove everyone wrong? Let us know in the comments below. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. I'll catch you on the next one.